Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me and you can see my screen, right? Okay, that's great. So first of all, a reminder regarding the quiz that we have next week. So the quiz will be released on Thursday after your tutorial session. Okay, so after the lecture and then the tutorial session after that at 9 p.m. on Thursday. And this is due on Friday, the next day, Friday at midnight. Okay, so during this time, you can anytime start this quiz, but once you start, you must have to finish. Okay, only one attempt is allowed. Once you enter into the quiz, you will not be able to access that one again. Okay, quiz duration is 1 hour, and there are 10 MCQ questions from content week 1 to week 5, including what we learned today. So today is week 5. And there will be 3 essay type questions. So there you will get questions on ERD to logical design. So I will provide you an ER diagram. From there, you need to create the table. Okay. Also, relational algebra expression you have to write, and also SQL expressions. There is a practice quiz available on Canvas. So I suggest everyone at least try once, okay, to make yourself familiar with the system. Main thing will be writing these relational algebra equations, right? So let me show you. Relational algebra expression writing might take some time, okay, if you don't practice or you don't know how to write these symbols. So this is the practice exam that we have. Okay, so there you will see a window. There you can write that expression, right? So there are 2 ways to write that expression. Like I have written here, you can write it like this, how we have learned actually. Or if you have difficulty writing these symbols, you can simply replace them with a character, which characters are defined here. Okay, so selection will be replaced with S, projection with P, so something like that. So I'll show you here how to write, let's say, this sort of equations. So if you want to write it in this form, that is very easy. In these 3 dots that you have here, you will find this equation symbol. Okay, so if you click on the equation symbol, there you can write. You can either simply select from here, or if you are familiar with LaTeX, yes, someone is saying about LaTeX. If you are familiar with LaTeX, you can simply write in LaTeX form, right? So selection is pi. So let's say SID. On here we have, so this is sigma for selection that we have. So in here we can put any conditions. Let's say marks is greater than 50. Okay, and then you can write the table. So this is how you can write if needed, and insert equation will insert that equation in here. Okay. Again, if you are having difficulty writing this, or if you are not familiar with writing LaTeX equations, that's fine. You can simply use this. So this same equation or same relational algebra expression can be written as, so this one will be P and then SID. All right, so this is what the format is saying. So P, then inside this square bracket, you need to write that root name. Then you start a bracket, S for selection. In there, you put the condition, whatever the condition is. In this case, marks is greater than 50, right? And then the table name that you have. Okay, so in this case, the table name was, let's say, students. So that's what you have. Okay, so either of these 2 are fine, whichever you prefer, that will be fine. Okay, so other than that, everything should be fine. Only text you have to write. So you do not need to draw anything during the quiz. So there should be no difficulty there. Okay. That is the one thing. Another thing, just to show you that this is the clock. Okay, so 1 hour, you will have 1 hour. The clock is running when the time is finished. If you have not submitted the quiz, if you have not clicked this one, so it will be automatically submitted for you. Okay, so make sure you keep an eye on this clock that we have in here. That's it about quiz. Any questions? Do we need to use proctorio? No. In EEs, is question worth the same? No. These MCQ questions worth 1 point each, so they are 10 marks you got, and these 3 essay questions will have 5 marks each. So this one have 5, 5, 5, 15 plus 10, which is 25. Later we'll convert that to 13% that we have in the quiz. Can we use handwritten answer and upload the picture? No. Don't do that. We have seen many issues regarding that. The picture doesn't load when we mark. Okay, so a lot of issues could be there. You don't have to draw anything, like I said, so don't do that. Write the answer in that box in Canvas so that we can see. Can we get the solution for the practice quiz? No, we will not be releasing a solution. Is that multiple time? No, only 1 attempt is allowed. Okay. The main quiz is only 1 attempt. Practice quiz you can submit many times, that's fine. But the main quiz, only 1 attempt. Any other question regarding quiz? Essay questions are similar to the practice question in terms of length. Yes, so in the practice quiz, you can see, let's say only 1 relational algebra or only 1 SQL, right? But in the actual quiz, you might have 2 or 3. You have to write 2 or 3 SQL statements, 2 or 3 relational algebra. That's it. Okay. Any other question? What will happen if we close the web page? So if you close the web page by clicking this end button, right? So that simply means that you have practiced that one. So if you close this window, so you will not be able to access this one again. Okay, so don't do that. Since this is only 1 attempt, you have to finish and you have to submit. Can we try many times in practice quiz? Yes, you can. Yep, that's terrible. We know. Just make sure you don't close that window that you have. Okay. Is the practice quiz count? No, that is just to make you familiar with the system. What happens if we meet network issue during the quiz? So if something like that happen, you need to apply for a special consideration. Okay, so they will, there you have to provide some evidence of that. And based on your evidence, they will give you some special consideration. Okay. Okay, looks like none. No other question. That's great. If you have any question, hold that thought at the end of the session. We'll talk about that. Okay, so first of all, an acknowledgement of the country. So I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, water, and culture. I am currently on the land of the Burra-Matagal people and pay my respect to their elder, past, present, and emerging. I further acknowledge the traditional owners of the country on which you are on and pay respect to their elder, past, present, and future. Okay, so today, first we have some unfinished thing from week 4, right? So we didn't cover state operations. So that's what we'll first have a look. Then we'll come back week 5. One question I can see in the chat, time in Australian time, time in Sydney time. Okay. Okay, so set operation in SQL. We are already familiar with set operation in relational algebra, right? So that is the same thing will happen in SQL as well. So in relational algebra, we have used these 3 symbols. If we want to write them in SQL as an SQL query, so for union, we will write union. For intersection, we will write intersect. And for set difference, we will write except. Okay, not difference or not set difference. So union, intersect, not intersection, and except for set difference. Okay, so these 3 are the keywords for set operations. Only one thing to remember is that all of these set operations, they will automatically eliminate any duplicate. If you have any duplicate in the data that you are trying to perform some set operation on, from there, the duplicates will be eliminated. Okay? So let's say in a table, a tuple occurs 3 times in R is a table, and 1 time in S is another table. Then if we run this query R except S, then it will come as 0 times. Right? So 3 times means it appears at least once because it eliminates the duplicates. Here it also appears. Since it appears in both the tables, it will not appear. Right? In R except S, except simply means set difference. If you want to retain all of these duplicates that we have, you can. Okay, and at that time you have to use union all, intersect all, or except all. So if in a table R we have a tuple m times, and in S we have that tuple n times, then if we run R union all S, then it will keep all of the things. Okay, so all of the copies will be there. So m plus n times, you will get that in the result. If we do intersect all, then it will be minimum of m and n, right? So if you have 3 times in R, 1 times in S, and you are performing R intersect all S, then it will come 1 because it is at least 1 time in both the tables, right? So that's what intersect is. And finally, if you do except all, at that time, definitely we will not allow minus. So that's why we have max 0, m minus 1. So this one will ensure that it comes 0 times, or if you have more times, then that one will come. So except simply means m minus n. We know that is set difference. So m minus n, so that it does not become negative, that's why we have max of 0. So you can see from here, it will come either as a 0 or a positive value. So this is very simple, hopefully making sense. Let's have a look on these set operations. So let's say we have these 2 tables, borrower and depositor. Here we have customer name and account balance. And in this table, we have customer name and loan amount. And we want to figure out, so depositor means who have a bank account. Okay, so they deposit the money. Borrower means who has a loan from that bank. So find all the customer name that have a loan, an account, or both. Which set operation do I need to use in this case? Union, intersection, or except? Any idea, anyone? For the first one, which set operation do I need to use? Yes, great, it should be union. So this is the simple union that we will do. If you remember from relational algebra, that when we are performing set operations, then the arity must be same. Right? So that's why we're first selecting the customer name, here also customer name. So when we have selected the correct data, then we are performing a union. So if you understand this, these two should make some sense. Find customer name that have both a loan and an account, so must be intersect, right? Have an account but no loan. In this case, definitely set difference. So first from depositor who have an account, so we are getting all the customer names, then we are doing a set difference using this keyword called except from borrower, right? Hopefully that thing is making sense. Just one warning or one sort of thing that we need to remember is that when we have or, okay, that find students who are enrolled in either Comp9120 or Info 6007. Okay, so in this case, we can perform simple OR, right? And if the question is asking Comp9120 and Info 6007 in these 2 courses, one student is enrolled or not, we want to figure out, we can simply write intersect, right? That's fine. Now, if we want to write this same query without using any set operation, okay, how should we write that one? So this one can simply be changed into this, that where units of static code equal to Comp9120 or unit of static code equal to this. But if we simply change this one to this, that this intersect is simply change to an AND condition. This is not correct. Anyone have any idea why this will not be correct? In the meantime, let me open up last week's tables so that I can explain. Yep. You can have a look into the tables if needed. These two queries are not equivalent. These two will produce two different results. Any idea why? But these first two are equivalent, union and doing OR. These two is not equivalent. Okay, so first figure out what would be the output for this first query. From this table that we have, what would be the output of this one, number 1, and this is number 2. Okay. Someone is saying because SID is primary key. Yes, someone said it right. UW study code cannot be Comp9138 and Info 6007 at the same time. Excellent. Okay, so to understand that, first I want you to figure out what would be the result. Which SID would come from this table for this first query. Can you figure it out? Which SID should be there in the output for this number 1? Someone is saying 1001. (1001), 1003. So someone is saying 1001 and 1003. This should come out. What about the second one? Someone is saying 1006 as well. Does 1006 comes up for this result? Have a look. 1006 is only once in Comp5318. This question is asking that student needs to be enrolled in both this unit. Right. So 1006 is only once. That should not be in the output. 1001, Comp5138 and Info 6007. 1003, Comp5138 and only once. So this one would not be in the answer as well. So only 1001 will be in the output, right? Yes. What about the second one? What about this one? Number 2. Someone is saying same, someone is saying nothing, no result, none. Someone is saying put in parenthesis. Where in number 2? Yeah, I can put a parenthesis there. That does not affect anything. Someone is asking, is the second one, is anyone who take this one or this one? No, you can see an AND condition there. What will be the output in this case? It will be always null or empty, right? So you will see no output. So you will see no output for the second one. Why? Whatever the value is for the second one, there will always be empty result. There will be nothing in the output. Someone already explained that one for us. Is that, do you remember how this query works? So every time he takes one row, right? And in that row, he tries to check all of this condition. In relational algebra, that's what we have learned. So take each of the rows. So in each of the rows, So if I take this first row, let's say their unit of study code is only once, right? So Comp9138. So in that same row, he will try to compare Comp5138 and Info6007, which is never possible. So he will take each of the rows from there. He will compare whether that is this one and this one, which is never true. So we'll simply see empty is there. Hopefully making sense. Someone is saying, can we use self cross product? Yes, you can use self cross product and then write the condition. That's fine. But only thing that I am trying to express from here, that just looking into this or and don't write and or directly. Okay, so you need to think whether there should be a set operation. Like I said, this one and this one is correct. But if you have an and you are writing this query, this one is totally wrong. Right? Someone is saying first look up two tables, the second only look up enroll table. So here we are also looking into enroll table, no other table is there, right? How should we write it then? This one, the first one. This is the correct one, right? So you need to use intersect in this case. Yep. So every time how SQL or relational algebra works, so every time he takes one row, right? So in one row, he tries to figure out whether this condition is true or false. So in one row, we have only one unit of study code. Right? So for unit of study code, this one is checking whether unit of study code is this one and this one, which is never possible, right? So that's why that one will come up as empty. Okay, so that's about it from last week. Okay, we'll talk about more regarding set operation today. Okay, so this is the table that we are going to use for today's lecture. Okay, so there is a simple change is that in this enroll table, now I have added marks so that I can perform some operation and show you. So that is the only change that I have. So this is what we have just seen, that find ID of all students who are enrolled in both Comp5138 and let's say in another unit. So how do we write it? Definitely learn this one, that we have to use intersect. That's great. Now the question is, if someone is asking, find me the name of the student, not SID, can I write this query and simply change this SID to name? Will this be correct? Someone is saying no, another one is saying no. Any reasoning why not? Someone is saying we don't have name in enrolled, but we are checking on student table. So this one is checking student natural join enrolled. Someone is saying where condition is wrong. No, where condition is fine. Same name, two people. Can't we do natural join with SID? Yes, we can if needed. But SID we have in enroll table already, right? So we don't need to join with another table. But this time we are looking for name. In enroll, I don't have the name. So that's why I need another table, which is student. That's why we are doing this natural first. Student natural join enrolled. And from there, we are printing out the name. Cannot do join twice. Yes, if needed, you can do join for more than two tables. That's fine. Later we'll see. But that is not the issue in this case. join on SID is missing? No. So when we do natural join, right, so that automatically compares this SID with this SID. Yes, someone said it right. Natural join automatically matches columns with the same name in the table. So that is not the issue. Let me show you. Okay, looks like a lot of people are still confused what is happening. So let me write some query. Hopefully then this one will make sense. So first, let's say I am doing this, the query that we have is Comp9138. ISYS 3207. So if I run this one, so this one comes up as 1003 only. Why? Let me open up the file. Just looking at the data. So we can check whether this one is correct or not, right? So which student have one Comp9138 and ISYS 3207? So 1001, you can see, no, he has only one unit. In this case, 1003. So 1003, we can see Comp5138 and ISYS 3207. So that must be the correct result. This one is Comp5318, but we are looking for Comp5138. Right? So this one. So 1003 is the correct result. Now, if I want to do the exact same thing, but I simply want to print the name of 1003, right? So that's what I am looking for, that give me the name of the student, not the SID. And for that, since in enroll table I don't have the name, this is what I'm doing. Student in natural join enrolled, parent of study code equal to that one. If I run this one coming up as Lily and Adam. Why? Which one is the correct one? Definitely the first one is the correct one, right? So this one is saying Adam is taking both of these courses, which is not true, because Adam is two different students. That is not the same student, right? So why that is happening? Because we are not working, in this case, we are not working on primary key. So if you are not working on primary key, that simply means that data can be repeated. Two students can have the same name. That does not mean they are exactly same student, right? So they are different students. How do we know that? Because their SID is different, right? So since we are not working on primary key in this case, so that's why this query is wrong. So how should we correct that one then? So first we'll run this one, SID, right? So first we'll run this SID. Since I know the SID of the student, from that SID, can I figure out the name of that student? Definitely can. So from this query, I can figure out what is the SID first. And then I'll figure out what is the name of the student. Right? So that thing is known as nested query. Let me first show you, then I will answer. What is nested query? So this query is wrong, we now know. So how should I write this one? First, work on the primary key, figure out the SID. Once you know the SID, then you write something like this: select name from student where SID in this query. Okay. So this query is giving me the SID, and that SID I am matching with this one. In simply means this SID is a subset of this one. Okay. So this SID exists in this query's result. Okay. So now we are matching these SIDs, and from there I am simply printing out the name. So the new thing that we are looking today is that we can write one query inside another query, and that thing is known as nested query. So in this case, to answer this query, when we have to figure out the name, right? At that case, we might have to write nested query. There are many other ways to write that one, but nested query is one of them. Okay, so nested query simply means we will be able to use a query as an input to another query. Okay, someone is asking, why do we have to use distinct just in case two students have the same name? So that's why. Okay. In this example, particular example, if you don't use distinct, that will be perfectly fine. Okay, so what we have seen is that we can write another query, right, inside one query. So that typically appears in the where clause, right? In here, we are seeing that in where clause, we are writing this query, right? But it can also appear in from clause. So when you are writing the table name, there you can write the from. You can write nested query in select or having as well. Having is something new. We'll talk about this one today, so don't worry. But we can write it anywhere in from, where, select, or having, wherever you want. Okay. This is what we are going to learn today, is nested query. So how should I answer this query now? Now we know that since this one is asking for name, not the student ID. So first we need to figure out the SID of this student, and from there I can figure out his name. So first to figure out SID, so select the SIDs from enrolled where enrolled study code is equal to this. So in this enrolled study code, who are enrolled, their SID, and if SID belongs to this set, then give me their name as well. Okay. Hopefully making sense. This is known as subquery, okay, which is inside of the query, that is known as subquery. We can connect them using different operators. In here we can see in. Okay, so in simply means whether this value exists in here or not. There are other operators, I'll talk about those. And this is known as the outer query that we have. So we have seen an example of in with a v in r. So we have seen whether SID in a query where I is a query. Okay. And we can write not in. You can simply check whether SID is not in the inner query's result. We can write exists or not. Okay. So exist will simply check whether the inner query or the subquery returned a result or not. So exists mean it is not empty. That simply means that it has returned a result. Whatever the result, we don't care. Only thing is exist will simply check whether there is a result coming from R or not. Not exist simply means that will be empty. We'll see all of this. Okay, so don't worry. We can have operator and then this keyword is all. So if you write all, so let's say greater than all. So that simply means whatever result you have, it must be greater than all of these values. Okay, so let's say in R you are getting all of the student marks and you are checking whether one student marks is greater than all student marks. Okay. So at that time we need to use all. We can use some as well or any. Both these are correct. Okay. So some simply means it is greater than, let's say I'm using greater than for operator. It simply means that it is greater than at least one. Okay. Some simply means at least one. If it is greater than at least one, then that's fine. If you're using less than or equal to, right? So that simply means at least it is less than one value from this resultant set that we have. Someone is asking, if we have same name for one person, it will not return two times if we elect, if we use select name. Yes, so SQL does not remove duplicates automatically. If you want to remove the duplicate, you have to use distinct. So these are the keyword that we have. So let's say now I want to figure out this query. Find the ID of the student with the highest mark. So how should I write the query? So to figure out the highest mark, what do I need to do first? So first I need to get all the marks, right? And then if I check whether a particular mark is greater than all of these marks, right? So if one mark is greater than all of these marks, then that is the highest mark, right? So this is what we are going to write. Select mark from enrolled. So this one will select all the marks. And now we are checking marks is greater than or equal to all of these marks or not. Does that make sense? If it does, I have one question. If no one asks that question, if you are unsure, you can ask. Does that make sense? So I want to figure out which student have the highest mark. So the idea of that student taking all the marks and simply checking whether marks is greater or equal to these marks. Can we write this simpler? Can we use max? Yes, you can, but we have not learned about those yet. Okay, so when we learn about that, then at that time we'll use that. So far, we have not learned about any function, right? Aggregate function. When we learn that, then yes. Sort, mark, pick the first one. Yes, everything is fine, right? But today we are learning about nested query. So that's why I'm showing you that that query can be written in nested way as well. Okay, my question is why there is equal in here. I'm looking for the highest mark, right? So why there is equal sign in here? So highest mark should be greater than all the marks. Why is the equal sign here? Yes, equal to himself. Excellent. So when we are looking for the highest marks, so in this case, highest marks is 94, right? So 94, when you are trying to compare using this query, what he will do? So it will compare with all of these, right? So whether that is greater than 72, yes, greater than 85, yes, greater than 67, yes. When it comes in here, if I am checking whether that is greater than 94, that is not possible, right? So that will, in that case, this equal sign will come into effect. So when you get the highest mark, so at that time, this equal sign will come into effect. Excellent reasoning. Few people have written. We cannot find marks higher than the highest mark. Or probably two guys have same high score. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get all of those. Hopefully making some sense. Nested query. What about this one? Find the name of the student who did not enroll in this semester. Have a look. Does it make sense? So again, one query can be written in many different ways, but today or this time I'm only talking about nested query and how we can write that using nested query. Does this make sense? So instead of in, this time I'm using not in. So who did not enroll in this semester. So first I am figuring out the student who have enrolled in this semester, then simply checking not in. So I'm taking those students who are not in this list. Hopefully making sense. If this thing is making sense, I want you to do something. I want you to write the answer for this three, not in the chat box. Let me open up this one. Okay. So in the chat box, I have shared a link. Go to that link, write the answer. You can simply click on this plus sign and start writing your answer for these three queries. You will need the table. I will show you the table. No worries. So a Padlet link has been shared in the chat. Click there, come to this page, simply click on this plus sign and start writing your answer. If you are unsure what to write or if you don't know what is the query, you can simply vote these answers that your friends are going to write. Okay. There will be thumbs up and thumbs down button once someone writes something. So you can simply vote and then we can have a look. Does SQL cares about indentation? No. Okay, we have got one response. So yeah, you can vote using thumbs up and thumbs down button that we have in here. First response that we have seen, select name from enrolled. In enrolled table, we don't have name. Right. So first to answer that we have here, enrolled table does not have name. So that is the issue. Okay, looks like number one, a lot of people are trying. Try number 2 and 3 as well. Some people try number 2, some people try number 3, so that we have answer for everything. Oh, that is. Yes, many different ways I can see. Someone is using on, someone is using between, set, in, nested query. Just natural join. Excellent. Yep. Many different ways we can write that one, right? What about number 2? Yes, someone wrote for number 3. When the name of the student who are enrolled in unit which have 6 credit point, why you have at the after 6, why you have select point from unit of study? Two students have the same name, s1 dot name from student s1 where s1 dot name not in this set. Group by count. Okay, we have not learned those things, but if you are familiar with those, that's great. Select name from student where point equal to 6. Problem is in the student table, we don't have point. Right. So in student table, we don't have point. Looks like a lot of people knows about group by. That's good. My name is equal to sum. No, that is wrong. Yeah, this one will complain as well. Okay, because you're using equal, but select names, that one will return a set of names, right? So at that time, you'll not be able to use equal. Would be better if we could see the tables. So here are the tables. You can see the tables, right? Does the between contain 60 and 80? Yes, they do. Okay, so I'll look into all of this later, okay, just to understand how you are understanding all of this thing, but I'll show you the answer, okay, and you can match whatever the thinking was. So I have used between. There are many ways I have seen which was correct. So select distinct name from student, natural, join, enrolled between 60 and 80. Right? So to answer this query, we need to get access to student and enrolled, because in student table, I don't have the marks. So in enrolled table, I have the marks, and in student table, we have the name, right? So that's why we need to. ID of the student who have the same name. So that can be answered using student table only, right? So if you are using group by and having, that's fine if you're familiar with that. If you are not familiar with that, you can simply make a copy using rename, right? Of the student table, and then you simply compare. So student table, you can see that I'm using the same table twice, student S, student T, and then I'm checking whether S.name equal to T.name. I definitely need to check whether S IDs are different. That simply they are two different students, but they have the same name. What will happen if I remove this condition, this first condition? Any idea, anyone? What will happen in the output? How many output will be there if I remove this first condition? 6, yes, all of them will come in the output, right? Because this one is checking S.name, so Adam is equal to Adam, Bob is equal to Bob, so that thing will simply occur. Case doesn't matter, right? Lowercase, uppercase doesn't matter in SQL. Last one, find the name of the student who are enrolled in units which have 6 credit points. So here I have written a nested query. So first figure out from this enrolled and into study, the SID who are taking this 0.6 courses, and from that SID you figure out the name, right? So 0.6, that is in unit of study table, and SID is in enroll table. So from these two tables, we can figure out the SIDs first, and using that SID, we can figure out the name. Someone is asking, where does student T from? So student is another table, and this is a rename of the table. Someone is asking, I didn't get student S and student T. So that simply means I'm renaming this table, right? So if you remember rename, so we are simply renaming student as S and student as T. So now I have 2 copies of student table. First one is termed as S, second one is termed as T. And then we are comparing. So this is simply rename operation. Yep, like creating a copy of the student table. Okay, so let's move on. You can practice this later. Views. So another thing, when we are talking about nested query, there might be nested and nested and nested, lots of nested there. You can use view in there. when you have a lot of nested operation. Okay, so view is used for other operations as well. I will show you, but that is one that we have seen so far. So views are defined through an SQL query. Whatever query we have written, we can save that one. That is a simple thing for view. So view simply means that is a virtual table. So if we write an SQL query, we can save that one as a view. So let's say I have a query. Whatever the query is, select all of these attributes from natural join these three tables. Whatever the output is, if I want to save them as a view, I simply need to write create view, like how we have created table. So we have written create table before, right? So this time we'll write create view, then a name. Any name you want to give, that's fine. Then this keyword called as, okay, and then the query that we have. So if we do that, this one will be stored in the database. If we go there, we'll see, we'll assume that that is simply a table. So you can see this is a virtual table. Although the table does not exist, it only stores the query that you have. But when you look into that view in the database, we'll simply see a table. There, I'll show you. No worries. And that view we can use like a table. Okay. So in from, what do we write? The table name, right? But in here I have created a view. So that view we can use in the from, and we can write any queries. So select start from this view, order by name, whatever you want to do, we can do. We can simply use this one as a table. Someone is asking, is that temporary or permanent? Permanent. Okay, once you create a view, that will be there in the database. So let's have a look. Let's say I have this student table, right? First of all. So in here, I have all of this information, but I don't want to give access to someone to all of this information. Okay. So let's say I only want to show SID and name to someone, nothing else. Gender and country, I don't want to show. So what can I do? I can first write a query, right? Select SID and name from this student table. That one will give me this table. Now, how do I create a view? We have just learned. So create view, any name. Okay, so let's say student info. As this is the keyword that we have to use in this case, and then any query that you have. Indentation doesn't matter. This is just for writing it nicely. Okay, so this is create view has been successfully created. If we go to the database, okay, if we look into in here, I need to refresh. If I refresh in views, there you can see student info, right? And in here you can see the columns SID and name, like how we see in a table, right? And this is permanent. It will be in the database whenever you need it. Okay. So later, if I want to perform any operation on that one, so I can think of that one as a table. Select everything from student info. And you can see that it works. Someone is asking, do you delete it in the same way? Yes, you can simply delete a view if needed. How you delete a table, that one will work. Okay. So any query that you have, you can simply save that one using a view. Okay, and later you can think that that view is my table. That one will make our life a lot easier. Drop view table. Yes, drop view is allowed. You can drop a view. Okay. Do you want me to drop? No, I wanted to show something else in here. So I'll not drop, later I'll drop that one. Okay. So this query, find male student name who are enrolled in unit that has the lowest credit point. Think about this query. There are a lot of things in this query, right? So what do we need to do? First condition is saying student must be male in this case, and you need to figure out the lowest credit points. So from the unit of study table, first we need to figure out the lowest credit point unit. So in this case, 4. So first I need to figure out the US code. Take that US code to enroll table, come in here. From this enrollment table, figure out the SID. Then go to student table, right? So in the student table, figure out who is the person taking ISYS 3207, these two 1003 and 1006. So Lily and Adam, and then check whether they are male or not. This one is female, this one is male, right? So Adam should be there in the result. Hopefully that whole step-by-step process is making sense. First, figure out what is the lowest credit point. Okay, so how do we figure out the lowest credit point? We have seen previously. So step by step, first, if I write this query, that select the unit of study code where points is less than all of these points. So this one will give me the lowest credit point unit of study code, right? Once I know the unit of study code, I go to enroll table. From this enroll table, now I need to figure out the SID where unit of study code is this, right? So figure out the SID from enroll table where unit of study code belongs to this query that we have. Still not finished. This one is saying, give me the student name who are male. So I still need to go one level up, go to student table, figure out the name where gender equal to M and SID belongs to this whole thing. Now you can see all the steps are there. Lot of nested queries are there. Since we have this idea of view now, we can do this one easily. So using view now. So now divide this whole query into two parts. First, figure out the male student name. And in another view, simply figure out the lowest credit point. Can you do that separately? Yes. So if I simply want to figure out the male student's name, I can simply write select SID and name from a student where gender equal to M. That's great. I can store that one in a view. I want to figure out the lowest credit point. We can do that one easily. So select points from into the study and then check whether that point is less or equal to all of these points. So that will be the lowest credit point. Select unit of study code. Okay. And then get lowest credit point unit. Finally, what do we have to do? We have to combine these two, right? So that should be easier. Now I have unit of study code. From the unit of study code, go to enroll table, figure out the SID, from SID, figure out the name. Now this query is very simple, right? Nothing complex there, simply figure out from SID to name, from unit of study to SID. Someone is asking, what if no one enrolled in the lowest grade point course? That's fine, the result will be empty in that case, right? So no issues will be there. The result will simply come up as empty. So now you can see that when we have a query, using view, we can divide it into multiple parts, right? Again, this query you can write in many different ways, okay? If you don't want to do all of this nested, that's fine, but I'm just showing you, using view, you can divide one query into multiple parts and then solve that. It looks complicated, yes, because I am not using any functions or nothing. For lowest grade point, I am calculating everything, but later you will see that this one will be much more easier when we learn about different functions. Okay. But again, this one use of view that you can store intermediate results and then you can use all of these things together, right? So probably you don't need to do all of these things step by step. You can simply natural join all the tables and figure out the name, right? So those would be easier, but I'm showing you step by step so that you understand how the whole query works. Any question on nested query so far? I'll go a little bit, then I'll give you the break. So let's talk about aggregation. Grouping we'll talk later after the break. So these are the functions that everyone was talking about. Can I use this and that function? Yes. So there are 5 functions in SQL known as aggregate function. Looking at the name, we can figure out what it does. Count simply counts. Sum will give us the addition of few numbers. Average calculates the average. Max and mean gives us the highest and lowest, right? So now you can see that we have max and mean, so we don't have to do that manual like I was doing in the previous query. We can simply use max and mean, and from there we can figure out the result. Except for count, all aggregate apply to a single attribute. That's understandable. So max of marks, right? So max of only one attribute. You cannot apply max on multiple attributes, or mean, sum, average. That's not allowed. Count, you can write count star. That means count everything that we have. That is allowed. Okay, but for these two, Hopefully that is making sense, that they only work on single attribute. Some addition of few things, only one attribute should be there. These operations apply to duplicate unless distinct is specified. So they will contain the duplicate, all of these. Okay, so if you want to remove the duplicate, you have to use distinct. Just looking into a few examples. Now life will be much more easier. How much courses are there in this unit of study table? If I simply want to write, this is the query that we have to write. Now it looks nice, very easy. Simply count star. So select count star means all the row. Okay, count all the row from unit of study table. So how many rows we have? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 courses. Find the highest mark for this unit. Should be very simple now. Select max of marks from enrolled, where unit of study code equal to this. Find the average mark of this unit. Same thing, instead of average, instead of max, we'll simply use average. How many students are enrolled? Can you write it in the chat box? Should be a single line. What would be the query? How many students are enrolled? I want you to write the query. What would be the query? Select something, that and that. Write the whole query for this last one. Select sum of SID. No, sum gives us the addition. Few people are missing select. Also, some people are writing select count SID. That one will be wrong. Count star, that one will be wrong as well. How many students are enrolled? Have a look into the enroll table. Does this table say that 6 students are enrolled? No. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1006. These 4 students are enrolled. 1003 again. I only need to know once. 1006 again. So 4 students are enrolled. That should be the result. So how should I get that one? Yep. Someone will select distinct, then count SID. That is wrong as well. So now you can see that in this case, we have to use distinct. Yep. So select, then count distinct SID. If one SID is twice there, you have to count it only once from enrolled. Someone is asking, can we use count distinct marks? Does that make sense? Think about that one. That one does not make sense. Right? 2 different students can have the same mark. In this case, SID part of a primary key, right? So that's why it makes sense. How many courses we should use distinct? No, in this case, unit of study code is the primary key, right? So the same thing cannot appear twice. That's why I don't need any distinct in here. Okay, this one, find the ID of the student who has got the highest mark in Comp9120 W5 Lec. Now this one should make sense. Previously we were calculating the highest somehow, right? But now we have this max. So first figure out max and then figure out the ID of the student. So unit of study code equal to this one. For this unit, what is the max mark? And then whether one student's marks is equal to this mark. Can anyone figure out why I'm using equal now instead of in? Previously I was using in, but in this case I'm using equal. Any reasoning why? Someone is saying numeric. Any other reasoning? Compare value. Max is only one value. Yep. Highest mark is a single value. Yes. So if this inner query or the subquery, this one returns only one value, that is for sure. Okay. it will never return more than one value. At that time, we'll use equal because I want to check whether this one is equal to that one. But if this subquery returns more than one, in that case, we must have to use in. Remember that thing. Otherwise, the system will complain. When you write, okay, that one will complain. If this inner query returns more than one, at that time you have a set, right? So you have a lot of output coming from here. So at that time, if you use equal, that one will create trouble. At that time, you must have used in. Someone is asking, what if we use in here? Yes, you can use in here. That will be fine. No issues. But we need to understand when we should need to use in and equal. So the previous query, I have simply changed few things. Instead of ID, I'm looking for name. Instead of given SID, I'm giving you the course name. Unit of study code, I'm giving you the course name. Find the name of the student who has got the highest mark in this course. Okay. So figuring out the highest mark of relational DBMS, have a look, does this make sense? So select max of marks from enrolled and unit of study where title equal to this one. Does that part make sense? So from relational DBMS, I got Comp9138. So come in here from Comp5138 and 5138, figure out the maximum marks, which will be 72. So this one should return 72. Since this one is returning only one value, I am using equal. So who has got this 72? Figure out that SID. So in this case, 1001 has got this one. Right. And from there, I can figure out the name. Right. Main thing to see is here I'm using in and here I am using equal. Right. So that's why I have written this query so that I can show you that this one must be in, because there could be more than one student who has got this maximum marks for this unit. So I can have another student with Comp5138 who has got 72 marks as well. Someone is asking, what is the difference between join and natural join? Yep, someone is saying that is inner join. So join and natural join are the same. Natural join is the keyword that we use. Okay. Hopefully this part is making sense. Someone is saying, just in case, we should always use in. Yep, that could be a way to remember. Okay, so before moving to grouping, let's take a break of 3 minutes, drink some water, and then come back. We will have a discussion on grouping next. Okay, so 3-minute break, then we'll come back. Okay, so I'm back. Hopefully everyone is back too. One question, can we explain in and equal again? So yeah, Cameron, thanks Cameron for answering that. So yeah, Cameron said it right. When the subquery returns only one result, so max will always return only one mark, right? So highest mark would only be one. So in that case, we have to use equal, right? But in this case, how many students have got that mark? That could be multiple, right? So more than one student can get that same highest mark in any unit, right? So since this one will return multiple result, that's why we have to use in. We cannot use equal there. Okay, so let's move on. Grouping, next part. Why do we need to understand grouping? Think about this query. Find the total sale amount of each company. So in this table, it's the sales table. I have company and amount. Okay. So IBM, Dell, and IBM, I want to know the sale amount of each company. Now, if I run this query, what will be the output? How many rows will be in the output? So when I run this query, select company, sum of amount sale from sales. Yep. Someone is saying 1, most people are saying 3, someone is saying 2. So have a look, this one is simply saying calculate the sum of amount. So all these will be summed up and give me the company name. So this is what we might see. IBM, Dell, and IBM, and all of them have the same amount. So that is definitely a wrong statement, right? So what do we want to do? We just want to add this IBM, this to IBM, and Dell, since Dell is only one, we can simply print this one out, right? So we want to add first and this third one. How do we do that? Using group. Now you can see that we have to create a group first. So if we create a group using group by, that is the keyword, group by company, right? So group by simply means that create a group using the company in here. So company means IBM will be in one group, Dell will be in another group. So that's why we'll have IBM in one, Dell in another. We are doing sum in that group only, okay, since we have a group by. So that will be the correct answer. So IBM, these two will be summed up, and Dell we have only one, so that one will be there. So now we can see that list grows. We started with select, from, and where. Now we are learning about group by, and also we'll learn something about having. Okay, so group by simply means the grouping list using which attribute you want to create a group. And inside that group, if you have some condition, you can write that condition in having. Okay, why we need something extra, although we have where, we'll discuss that. But having is for group qualification only. Okay, if we put some condition here, based on that condition, things will go to the group or not. So like we have seen an example, right? Select company, sum of amount, group by company. Remember this thing, the attributes that we are going to write from now on in select or having clause, they must be in an aggregate function or from this grouping list. Grouping list simply means this one, group by, right? So whatever we are going to write in select and having, they must be, right? So if you don't follow this rule, then your query is wrong. So whatever attribute we are going to write in select or having, they must be either in aggregate function or from the grouping list. Let me show you a few things first, then things will make more sense. Let's say student. then I need to do a group by gender. Now you can see that this is fine. Select gender, count everything on that group from student, group by gender, right? So can I group by using any other attribute? Let's say I am using country in this case. This one will give me an error. Why? Because in here I don't have country, right? So this one is saying student or gender must appear in group by or used in aggregate function. Because in here I'm using gender, the rule was saying it must be in an aggregate function, like I'm writing in here. So let's say I'm writing count of SID. Okay, so this part is fine, but this gender, it does not appear in a group by clause and is not used in an aggregate function. So that's why the problem is. Hopefully that is making sense. So from now on, when you see this error, you will see this error many times. So you know that you have missed something in this select clause, which should be based on group by. Okay. When we learn about having, I'll show you having as well. So if you want to do based on country, that based on country, I want to count how many students should be there. Then since I'm doing group by with country, then country should go to select as well. If I do that, then we can see the correct result, right? So these are the countries and these are the number of students coming from that country. So group by, how does group by works? I think everyone already understood. So it divides the whole table into groups. So when we run group by, so first it divides the table into groups. So in first group, we will have IBMs, all the IBM company will be there. In the second group, we will have other companies, right? So since we have this group now, then he performs the sum of amount based on company name. So he simply prints out the company name once from one group. So in this, from this group, he prints out IBM, does the summation of amount in that group, and then print out that result. Okay, so this is the query that I have just shown you. Find the total number of students from each country. Hopefully making sense now. Find the total number of male and female students using group by. That one should make sense as well. Any question on group by before I move to having? No question. Excellent. Okay. So we can filter the groups using having clause. So this query, list course and their average mark, should be simple now. Select into study code and average marks from this table where we have a condition of group by using into study code. Now I want to put some condition there. That give me the course that have average mark greater than 60 only. Give me the courses and their average mark where the average mark of that course is greater than 60. How should I write that one? Okay. So this is how we are going to write. Having average mark greater than 60. Does that make sense? Select unit study code and average mark from this table, group by this, having average mark greater than 60. Does that make sense? Someone said yes, at least. Okay, that's good. Main thing to remember, having clause is applied after the formation of the groups, where clause are applied before forming groups. Okay. So in where we also write the condition, in having we also write the condition. Right? But this is the main difference. Where is applied before forming the groups, that means on the whole table that you have. Having after forming the groups, first you form all the groups, and in that group you will apply this condition. For this first group, whether this condition is true. For the second group, is this condition true? Right? So what would be the query for this one? Can you write in the chat box? Should be a single query. Select the country name with more than one student. Figure out all the country which have more than one student. You simply need a student table. So first count based on country. For each country, how many students do we have? And then put that condition. Someone wrote select country count star. Yep. So in here, I already have that one, right? That based on country, I have selected the SIDs, right? I counted the SIDs. So since I already have that one, I simply need to filter this one out, right? So I already have based on country, what is the count? Now I simply need to put a having count SID. That means this value that I am counting, that value should be greater than 1. So we can see only Australia, right, is coming from there because Australia has 2 students and other countries had only 1 student. Hopefully that thing is making sense. So this having is working after creating the groups, right? So after creating a group, for each group, we are checking this condition. If I add and where, we'll check on whole table, then we'll perform some operation. Yes, this will be the query. Just to make things understandable, when I write something, select from, where, order by, inside here we'll write group by, having, how it works. So the query always starts from. Someone is asking, do we need to specify SID? In this case, no. You can count everything. That will be fine as well. Yep, you can see the same effect. Yep. So when we have select, from, where, group by, having, order by, all of these things, how the whole query works. So whenever you write a query, it first goes to from to figure out the table. Okay. So this is the first task that it will do. So it will always goes to the from to figure out the table. Then it goes to where. Given the condition, it filters out from the table which data he needs to work on. Then if I don't have anything, let's say, then I simply have select. So it will go to select. Okay. And then it will go to order by. But if we have group by and having, then it first goes to from, then where, then group by, then having, then on select, and finally if we have order by, that's where it will go. So although we write it in this way, so this is the way that he will maintain always. Hopefully now things are making sense. We can see before forming the group, he applies where condition. After forming the groups, he applies this group by. Sorry, after applying group by, he applies this having condition. Right? And finally, he does select and then order by. So these are the only keywords that we have. How it works. Hopefully things are making sense. So just to show you how where and having works, so in this query I have where and having. The question is asking, find the maximum mark of 6 credit point courses with at least 2 students. So figure out the 6 credit point courses which have 2 students, at least 2 students, and figure out their maximum mark. So this is the query we're going to write. Select is unit of study code and max of marks, natural join these two, point equal to 6, and having condition is there. Okay. So main thing that I want to show you how this query is evaluated. So we just learned first will be from, then where it will go to where, then group by, then having, then finally select, right? So that is the way that it will go. So first it will go to from. So this in this from we have from enrolled natural join into start. So if we perform natural join between these two tables, this is what we are going to get, right? In enrolled table, we have unit of study code, SID, semester, and marks. And in unit of study table, we have unit of study code, title, and point. If we perform a natural join, this is the whole table we are going to get. So that is the from part. Second, it will go to where credit point equal to 6. So he will only keep where credit point equal to 6. All the other things will be removed. So in these three cases, we have 6 credit point. In on all the cases that does not match this condition, so those are gone. Next, it will go to group by. Group by based on unit of study code. So unit of study code is this one, right? So group by will only group by those 3 which are from there, right? So 5138 will be in one group, and 531 it will be in different group. After forming the group, we have a having count. So first count, in this case, if we count, we have 2. In this case, if we count, we have 1. So we check whether that is greater or equal to 2. If not, then this one is removed. Finally, print out select. So select was saying, give me unit of study code and max of mark. So from this group, unit of study code is only 1, 5138, and max of mark. So between these two, what is the max? That is 72. Does that make sense? This whole process. Any question? Anyone? If you understand the whole process, query writing will be easy. Okay. No question? Okay. Yep, one question I got. Why not having count title? Yes, you can count that. If you want to count title, that's fine. You can count anything in this case, right? Count star will simply count all of the rows that we have. Any other question? No. Okay, that's great. What about this query? Find the total number of students of all 6 credit point courses with more than 1 student. This is what we have just seen, right? So natural join between these two tables where point equal to 6 and count is greater or equal to 1. Should make sense. Find the country which have the highest number of students. Can anyone think of any way how we can write this one? Since we have some time, I will go to Padlet again. Let me give access to another Padlet. Try to write. If you cannot finish now, you can finish later so that I can have a look. So I have shared the link of this Padlet. Find the country which have the highest number of students. These are the tables. No, this is the correct table. Someone is saying, I think I can't join the web page. It should be open for everyone. Let me check. Just clicking on the link, you should be able to figure it out. Oh, did I share the correct link? Link is correct, it should be fine. But if you can't access, that's fine for the time being. Yep, someone is writing max and count. You're doing nested, that is not allowed. Oh, sorry, we need to see the table as well. Too many things are open. Yep, 3 answers we have got. Everyone is writing max, and inside max you are writing count. That is not allowed. Aggregate function cannot be nested. Okay. Aggregate function cannot be nested. Inside one aggregate function, we cannot write another one. Yep, few people are still writing max and then count. That is not allowed. Having country greater than 1, no, that is wrong. Greater equal to all count star, that doesn't work as well. Okay, so few misconceptions now I can see. Let me show you. Okay, you can write the answer later if needed. That's fine. Few things I can see that you people are writing that is not correct. So few people are writing something like this from students, where marks equal to max of marks. So can we write something like this? Definitely not, right? Oh, sorry, not a student, enrolled. Yep. So now you can see aggregate functions are not allowed in Fireclass. Few people are writing something like this. So this is not allowed, okay? So we cannot write marks equal to max of marks. So that's why what you have to write, we are writing select max marks. So when we have select, we must have to write from. So from which table enroll. So that line we are writing like this. Okay. Now we can see that it works. So marks equal to max of marks, that doesn't work. In where we cannot write aggregate function. Few people are writing aggregate inside aggregate. That is not allowed as well. Okay. In this case, let's say you are trying to write sum of count star, say group by SID. This is also wrong. Okay. Now you can see the error. Aggregate function calls cannot be nested. Okay. So we cannot write one aggregate function inside another aggregate function. That is the error. You can see aggregate function calls cannot be nested. Okay. So what do we have to do? We have to go in step by step. That is one way, right? Don't be afraid, just looking into this one. When I explain, things will make more sense. Main thing, first have a look. Later I'll explain how I'm getting the result for this one. Is that this part, which part I'm talking about, this part. And this part is exactly same. What is that part? I will explain, like I said. Okay. So don't worry about that. So these two parts are exactly same. They are equal, right? Select country, count SID, number of student. Select country, count SID, number of student. From student, group by country, right? So these two parts are exactly same. So since we have learned about view, we don't need to write them twice. We can write them only once. So that is the first thing I'm doing. So what is it that I'm doing in here? So first I'm trying to figure out for each country, how many students are there. We have already seen this query. Select count country, count SID. I'm simply changing its name. If you want to change, that's fine. If you don't want to change, that's fine as well. Count SID, number of students from student group by country. Since we know about view, I'm simply saving that one. So in this view, I have country and number of student from each country, right? Total number of students. Then once I have that thing, I can simply check, right? Who have the maximum? So figure out the max from this view. So in this, the attribute is number of students. I am figuring out the max first. And then where this number of students is equal to max, I'm simply printing out the country. Does this one make sense? Yep. Okay, that's great. But again, I want you to write it in that Padlet in any other way that you can think of. Okay, this query, that will be much more helpful. Okay, last thing is null value and three value logic. So only thing is, whenever we have null, there will be some problem. Okay, so we need to just be conscious about that fact that something could be null. Okay, so that is the main thing. So we know null simply means that value is unknown or it does not exist. So that value does not exist or not applicable. It does not mean zero or blank. Okay. So it simply means that there is an unknown information or missing information. Okay. So null we cannot check using equal to sign. So I cannot check whether marks equal to null. That is not allowed. Okay. So null is always special. Remember that. So if you want to check whether there is a null, so you need to write is null, not equal to. So you need to write marks is null or not. If you want to check whether there is not null, you have to write is not null. Where marks is not null, give me that SID. Okay. So equal does not work with null. We have to use is. That is the first change. Second change is that null values is special. Like I said, any operation that you perform based on null, it will always return null. Okay. 5 plus null, it will always return null. Any comparison will return unknown. What does unknown means? Unknown simply means that it will be false. Okay. So when we are checking a condition, in that condition, it will return false if it evaluates to unknown. So select SID from enrolled where marks is less than 50. If one student have marks which is less than 50 but it is null, that student will not be there. Okay. Let me show you this one, otherwise this one might create some confusion. Let's see student table. I want to insert. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's insert a null value. So insert into student table. First one should be SID 1007, then the name, important, then the gender, let's say country, I don't know, so that is none. So everything is fine. Select start from student. Now you can see that yes, country is equal to null. Okay. So now if I want to check for null, what do I have to do? So let's say I want to check whether some student's country is null. If I simply write country is equal to null, that one is returning nothing. Okay, so that doesn't work. I have to write is null. If I write is null, then we'll get 1007. That student was null. If I write is not null, that one will return everything except for the last one, 1007, right? So null is special. Whenever we have some condition, let me insert one into enroll table so that I can show you those operations. Insert into in here, I need to insert, let's say 1007. Unit of static code is Comp9120 semester 2021 S2 and 1 marks, which is 20. I want to put it now, sorry. Yep, so I have a null now in here. So if I write a query, select star from enrolled, where marks is less than 50. Select all from enroll table where marks is less than 50, right? So less than 50, do we have any marks less than 50? We have one, this one 40. Will null come there? No, null does not come in there. Okay. Now, if I write this one, or marks is greater or equal to 50, what do you think will be the output? Will null come now? So I'm writing whether mark is less than 50 or mark is greater or equal to 50. If I run this one, you can still see null is not there. Okay, so null is always special. You have to handle null specifically. So it does not check for null. So if he finds null in values, he will simply skip because he does not know whether that is less than 50 or greater than 50. Okay, so never think that null simply means 0 or a negative value. So that should be less than 0 or less than 50 some marks. Okay, so if we really want to check that, then we have to put a condition in here. What condition we have to check? That is written in here. Let me first show you. So we have to write or marks is null. But before going there, so far we have learned about Boolean logic, right? True and false. Today we'll see something new, which is called unknown because of this null. So this one is known as three-valued logic. We previously learned about true and false. That is the only thing that we know. But today we'll see three-valued. So unknown, true, and false. Unknown and or true. So if you remember or, if at least one is true, then the whole statement is true. It doesn't matter whether it's false or unknown. Right? So in this case, this is true. All of those will be unknown. And if both of those are true, only then true. If one of them is false, that is false. It does not matter whether the other one is unknown or true. Not unknown, this is the one some people make confusion about. Not unknown also means unknown. It does not mean known. Okay, so not null also means in this case null. This is an easier way to remember. Think about true equal to 1 and false is 0, right? Unknown equal to 0.5. And this is the equation. So for and, we will always get the minimum. For or, we will always get the maximum. And for not, we will always get 1 minus b1. So think about if both of them are 0, 0. 0, 0 means false. Then what will be the output? Definitely 0. If both of them are 1, that means true, then the output will be true because we are always getting the minimum. If this is 0 and this is 1, the output will be 0 because false and true. right? The output should be false. So that is for AND. For OR, we'll always get the maximum. So if it is 1, 1, we'll get 1. If both of them are true, result is true. If at least one of them is true, result is true, because I've got 1, right? And 0, 0 will return 0 as well. You can think about 0.5. So 1 and 0.5, what should be the output in this case? So since we are taking minimum, it should be 0.5, which is unknown. Right? And for this one, 1 minus B1. So 1 minus, if B1 is 0.5, the result comes as 0.5. Right? So that simply means if it is unknown, then the result is unknown as well. Hopefully making sense. This is a simple way to remember if you don't want to remember all of this. Okay. So AND only takes the minimum between these two, or takes the maximum, and NOT simply means 1 minus that value. Previously we learned about true and false. Now we have something new. That's why this one is known as 3-valued logic. Okay. So that's why when we write something like this, like I have shown you, marks is less than 25 or greater or equal to 25, it will, if there is some unknown or null values, those will not be returned. If you want to return them, you have to specifically write or marks is null. Then it will list all the students that we have. Aggregate functions ignore null values. So if you have any null values, aggregate function will ignore them by default. Only exception is count and star, not count. Remember, if I write simple count and then let's say SID, that will ignore null, but only when I write count and star, okay, at that time we are counting everything, right? So at that time it will count null. But if I count, let's say count SID where some SID is null, it will ignore. Okay. So if I write select minimum mark from enrolled, if we have some null values there, it will simply ignore those tuples and give you the minimum except those null. But if I write count star from enrolled, it will count all the tuples, even if you have some null there. Count marks will definitely ignore with null. Okay, so only when you have count and star, it will count all the tuples. That simply means it will take into account the null values as well. But in all the other cases, it will simply ignore the null. So that's it for today. We've talked about a lot. You need to practice. Okay, so Grok is the best place. Okay, so I have only seen 20% student probably have started this practice material in Grok. You need to practice, okay, all of these things in Grok. The solution is also there, like I said. Okay, so I have already released the solution, so they can practice first and then match with the given solution, whether that was right or what is it that you are doing wrong. Okay, so practice all of these things, otherwise you will forget. Remember, whatever we have learned today will be in the quiz as well next week. Okay, next week we'll learn about how to put integrity constraints. Okay, and that's it for today. Is the Grok link on Canvas? No, that is on 8. So if you go to 8, there we'll see that link. For the practice test, will you provide the answer? No, I want you to keep practicing. There are only 5 questions, right? You can ask or anything during the tutorial session to your tutor regarding those if needed, that's fine. Only 5 questions, most of them are MCQs, right? Can you upload the new version of the slide? Yes, I will upload this new version. I intentionally removed some of the parts so that I can see how you are working on those. Okay, but I will upload this one. Thank you, everyone. Study hard. Can you please turn on to the page that we have 3 class tasks? I want to see that answer. This one you are talking about, probably. Yep. Yeah, like I said, I will upload this slide, so there you will be able to see if you missed something. Where can I get assignment specification and instruction? Wow. So go to it, there we will see the announcement, and go to Canvas, there we will find all the specification and instructions. Okay. For the quiz, relational algebra practice for week 4 content. So probably you have missed the first part of this lecture. There we have talked about what needs to be covered. So ERD to logical design, relational algebra, and SQL for these essay questions, but for MCQ question, everything that we have learned from week 1 to week 5. When is the due date of the assignments? So go to Canvas, right? There you will find all of those informations. If you click on assessment information, there you will see. If you go to assignment, probably I need to go to student view. You can see assignment 1 in there, right? So all the information should be there. Going there, and there you will figure it out. If you still have confusion, you can go to this announcement for assignment 1. Okay, there you will find all the informations. So assignment 1 is due on 8th of October, midnight. I mean, do we need to practice relational algebra for today's SQL queries such as in? No. Whatever we have simply covered last week, okay, that will be enough for relational algebra. You don't need to learn about group by in relational algebra. Go to your tutorial session. There you will have some practice as well for these SQL queries. Looks like no other questions. Someone is saying, can you say again B1 and B2 minimum? That is just a simple way to remember, okay, regarding that and or, because now we have this unknown. So this one is simply saying whenever we have and between these two. So previously what we learned that if both of them are true, only then something becomes true, right? So if both of them are true, simply means 1, 1, then the output becomes 1, right? But if something is false, something is true, then the output becomes false for AND, right? So you can see the minimum is always coming in here. Yep, so that's simply a rule. So now since we have this unknown, which is 0.5, think about what will happen if I have 0.5 and 1. Since we take the minimum, it will come up as 0.5, that means unknown, right? So that one will always come up as unknown. Think about 0.5 and 0. What will be the output? 0. That simply means that one will be false. That's what we can see in here. False means zeros, and 0.5, the minimum is 0. So that simply means that one will be false. Any other question, anyone? Looks like none. It's time to go to your tutorial. Okay, so that's it for today. See you next week. Best of luck with the quiz.